don't need that microphone. Throw away the microphone.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe DiMartino, and I'm a member of the events committee here at the Columbus Citizens Foundation. I became a member of the Columbus Citizens Foundation about 5 years ago for nights like this, where we get to hear from an esteemed member like Joe Moglia. About a year and a half ago, I read a book about Joe, and from that moment I said, how do we get Joe to speak here? So Joe, thank you for honoring us coming tonight.
Thank you, Joe.
If you don't know Joe or his story, you're in for a treat. Joe Moglia is the former CEO and chairman of TD Ameritrade, former head football coach, and current executive advisor to the president at Coastal Carolina University. In 1984, Joe entered the MBA training program at Merrill Lynch. There were 25 MBAs and 1 football coach. By 1988, that football coach was the #1 producer in the world. He was a member of both the institutional and private client executive committees, and his final responsibilities were all of investment products, the insurance company, the 401k business, and the middle market business. Prior to that, he was the head of global fixed income institutional sales and ran the firm's municipal division. He became CEO of TD Ameritrade in 2001. And when he stepped down in 2008, shareholders had enjoyed a 500% return. In 2009, he became chairman and stepped down in 2020 when TD Ameritrade was acquired by Charles Schwab. At close, the combined company was worth $100 billion, with client assets of $7 trillion. When Joe arrived, those numbers were only $700 million and $24 billion. But there's more. Joe has also been a football coach for 25 years, but it's not a traditional 25 years. He began his career coaching for 16 years, moved to the business world for 24, and returned to football in 2009. In 2012, Joe became the head coach at Coastal Carolina, and in his first 5 seasons, went to the national playoffs all 5 years, and was conference champion 4 times. His overall record is 56-22, and in his last 11 years of college coaching, he was a part of 8 championship teams. He also received multiple Coach of the Year honors, including the Eddie Robinson National Coach of the Year, was the recipient of the Vince Lombardi Award, and was inducted into the Lombardi Hall of Fame. He was also selected to the Big South All-Decade Team, and based on the success at the FCS, CCU was invited to the Sun Belt Conference. Joe has received the Ellis Island Medal of Honor and the Sharp Trophy for Leadership. He has been honored by the National Italian American Foundation, UNICO, our Columbus Citizens Foundation, and the Irish Art Center, the American Institute for Stuttering, and the Stuttering Association for the Young. He has been inducted into 10 Halls of Fame, and is only the 4th alum in the history of Fordham University to have been inducted into the Hall of Honor, Athletic Hall of Fame, and the recipient of the Founders Award. He's a member of the National Economics Honor Society, is the recipient of 3 honorary doctorates, and has given 9 commencement addresses. The book, 4th and Goal, by Monty Burke, was written about his life, and he's also the only author who has written books published on both investing and football. It's my honor to welcome Joe.
So, I was asked many months ago to do this, and the Columbus Citizens Foundation is one of the special parts of my life, and one of the memberships that I'm really honored to be part of. So I said, well, how many people are gonna have it? He said, probably 1,200. I said, okay, but I'll take it. So I'm expecting 1,200 people. I'm just kidding. But when I realized, kind of the side, I wasn't thinking about it. Number one, Antonella, can you hear me in the back?
Of course.
Okay, so I don't need a microphone, other than I want to keep a couple notes, you'll find out why in a minute. On the lectern, I thought to be able to sit in front of you and just have almost conversation. Now, I'll talk about the stuff I want to talk about, but again, I was asked to talk about my Italian heritage and my leadership philosophy and a handful of other things, but you don't get a chance to be able to spend some time in front of a great group like this, where it's so small, it's incredible energy, and you can have individual conversations, which we can continue to have later on. But so if it's okay with, Joe, I don't want to screw up tonight, I don't want to do any of that stuff, but I'll talk for 40 minutes or so, and if we're going to have questions, I'll ask questions all night long. I don't care what the topic is, I'm happy to do that. So to me, being part of this group, as intimate as it is very, very different than talking to a lawyer. So with that, I'm sorry. So with that, I'm gonna, most of the time, I don't look at my notes. But I'm going to tonight for a couple of reasons. So, I told the guys, make the font big enough so I wouldn't have to look at it. Bastards. Okay. Non posso dirti quanto sono orgoglioso di essere qui stasera. Now, for those of you that don't speak Italian, I can't tell you how proud I am to be here tonight. Now, with that, how many of you speak Italian fluently? Like, okay, 10%, 12% of you, right? So I'm disappointed with that because I prepared this entire talk in Italian. So I'm going to wing it now as far as I'm going to wing it as far as the English piece of that goes. As far as the English piece of this goes. I could not be more proud of my Italian heritage. And I want to talk about that a little bit. My father was born in a village called Pessola in the county of Padova, about 3 hours north of Firenze. He moved to this country when he was 11 years old and moved to the Italian section of the Bronx. The Bronx Tale story, about 10 blocks from Fordham, Mount Carmel Parish, and his family lived in 4535 Park Avenue in the Bronx overlooking the railroad tracks. And so my mom, he meets my mom at the very end of World War II. And my mom was a Catholic raised in Belfast, Ireland, there her whole life, and winds up meeting this guy after World War II, and they dated for a few weeks or so, and then Dad had to come home. It took him 2 years to make a decision to write my mother and ask her if she would come to this country as his wife and they would have a family together. So one of the questions we as kids kind of growing up, we're asking, not Dad and Mom, we're asking sort of the relatives, hey, Uncle Al, what do you think about this? Well, what happened here? And here's the story I heard. I'm not 100% sure it's true, but he dated my mom for 3 weeks. He comes to the country. 2 years later, he writes her and asks her to come to this country, be his wife, raise our family, blah, 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 blah. So first question, what? Dated 3 years. Why'd you wait 2 years? Here's what I'm told is the honest story behind this. So Grandma, who couldn't speak English, thought that Frances, who Dad used to talk about in Ireland, was absolutely 100% a virgin. And all the Italian women he was dating were not. So therefore, you got to reach out to the Irish lady and ask her this question. So he does that. Whether or not that's the truth, I don't know. So then my mom gets the letter from my dad, and she takes the letter to her mom and dad, and they say, Frances, sit down. So we got 3 issues here. Well, 3 things we want to talk about. First, this guy's Italian. They did not think that was a good thing. They did not think that was a good thing. The second, my dad ran fruits and vegetables in the Bronx his entire life. So bananas and apples in the Bronx his entire life. I worked for him at the time I was 10, to the time I was 22. But he did own his own business. And again, he lived in the Italian section of the Bronx. So, but you know what? This is her mom and dad talking to my mom. But you know what? He does own his own business.
Yeah.
They thought that was pretty good. And remember, the Irish were in the middle of the potato famine. Yeah, they thought that was pretty good. But third, here's my grandpa pops in and he's like, hey, did you check out the return address on this envelope? This guy lives on Park Avenue. You can't let this guy get away. So, my mom moves over here and moves in what she thought was my dad's place, along with two brothers, one sister, and a mother-in-law who can't speak English. So she's looking out, 45, 35 Park Avenue, looking at the view of the railroad tracks. And she go for a walk up and down Park Avenue, like everybody she stopped to say hello to, because she was very friendly, couldn't speak English. So after about a month, she writes home and goes, Mom, Dad, I have no idea why the Americans make such a big deal about Park Avenue. That's a true story. Tomorrow, Our Lady Queen of Martyrs is one of 11 Catholic high schools in a city in New York that are closing down. They're being shut down by the Archdiocese because they don't have enough money. I'm sure the Archdiocese got a lot of lawsuits they're taking care of, but whatever it is, they're shutting down the schools. And Our Lady Queen of Martyrs was where my entire family grew up. Tomorrow will be the 91st commencement address. Lady Queen of Martyrs will be the last. I'm going to give the commencement address tomorrow. And this will be one of the stories I tell. So this is also a true story. So I'm the oldest of 5. 7 of us live in a 2-bedroom and bathroom apartment, the Dyckman Street section of New York City, right above Washington Heights in the Inwood section, and we're going to Lady Queen of Martyrs. So I'm in 2nd grade, my brother Johnny's in 1st grade, and everybody goes to Mass on Sunday. So we're on our way home, and Dad was at that particular Mass, and Sister Mary Tabernacle stops him and says, well, how my son's doing? He goes, Johnny, my brother, is not doing, younger brother, he failed the spelling test. Now, I don't think Dad gave a shit about the spelling test, but I think he was embarrassed that the nun is kind of telling him his son's not doing very well. All right, so we get home, and Dad's going after John, and he said, he gets like the most advanced 5th grade, whatever it was, speller that we had back then. And he tells my brother, you gotta learn every one of these words. I said, Dad, this is like, 5th grade stuff, I'm in 1st grade. Smacks me, just learn this. So the next week, and Dad worked 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. I don't expect him even to do this on Sunday, but it's on Sunday, so he's sitting down with my brother, and he goes, okay, he gives him a word, and he gets it wrong, smacks him. You gotta write it 50 times for next week. All right, another word, smacks him, gotta write it 50 times for next week. Then he gets to the word that's it. Now, Dad didn't get, you say it, you read it a sentence, and you say it again. He didn't get that piece. Okay, so he said, so he goes, dear. So Johnny's actually thoughtful. He goes, Dad, which deer are you talking about? Smacks it. What are you, a wise guy? Deer. Okay, so he goes, D-E-E-R. Okay. Smacks it. That's wrong. Write it 50 times. So next week, if he screws up, Dad's really getting mad. He's got to write everything 200 times. So he's going through the list. John's getting most of them right, not all of them. Then he gets to deer. And Johnny's got this. He goes, D-E-A-R. Dad smacks him in the face again. And he goes, okay, write that 250 times. I go, Dad, he's kind of, by the way, we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, 7 of us. It wasn't like there was a lot of privacy. So I'm listening to this, and I'm getting such a kick out of this. Okay? So he goes, deer. He said, Dad, what deer do you mean? What deer? He goes, what do you mean, what deer? What deer? Right, what do you mean, what deer? Deer. There goes the boy walking down the street. Okay, write it 250 times. Okay, so I'm going to tell that story tomorrow. Now, I'm really, really incredibly proud of my Italian heritage. And Dad grew up in, I talked about Pessoa, right? I talked about that a little bit. I talked about, okay, my mom had grown up in Belfast. So one of the things that Frank was good enough to send me recently that, frankly, I had an impact on me that I thought I would like read today. Parents of our generation. Not you, sweetheart, you're way too young. Okay. By this is Mary. This is Mary. Parents of our generation were born in the early 1900s. They lived through World War I, then the Spanish flu, both resulting in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of deaths. That was followed by the Great Depression, World War II, Korea, and some were involved in the beginning of Vietnam. But they never lost faith in their country. Just as Tom Brokaw called them the greatest generation, we are the blessed generation. They educated us and sent us out in the world to find ourselves. We owe them everything. I think when it comes to my mom and dad, I feel that way. And I've been asked many times over the span of my career, like, who are the different people that had the biggest impact on your life? And every answer, and I really believe this, I come back to it's my mom and dad. And so I think about, I thought about this. I thought about this a lot over the span of my lifetime. And I think about, okay, what was it mom had? What was it dad had? What kind of impact did it have? And so my mom, now I want to point something out. The potato famine was very real in Ireland when mom had to come over here in the Mount Carmel parish in the Bronx to marry my dad, which was his neighborhood. There was not one person in the church that she knew from home. Now, one of her family could be there, not her mom and dad, not her brothers and sisters, not a friend, nobody from Ireland. They couldn't afford to get there. Couldn't afford to go. But keep that in the back of your mind for a minute. And so for my mom, the oldest of five, the five of us were her life, were her total absolute life. And she unconditionally loved us. She 100% supported us. She would do anything for us. But again, mom was uneducated too. Mom never finished 10th grade. She comes over here and she's in this Italian family. By the way, she did everything she can because she only had the Italian family. The Irish family's back home. And she didn't get a chance to see them very often or spend her lifetime. So she worked really hard to try to learn how to speak Italian. She fell in love with Italian music. She learned how to make Italian pasta gravy, which is a big thing instead of chef boyardee. But she was very much somebody in the family that all the Italians really embraced and loved. She was very much part of the overall family. But for us, she was mom. She had incredible positive attitude. She always had a smile on her face. The glass was always half full. Unconditionally loved us. I know I said that, but I want to repeat that. And for my mom, she enjoyed smiling, she enjoyed laughing, she enjoyed dancing, she very incredible attitude, and she totally loved us. My dad, on the other hand, had a little bit of a different personality. My dad, the glass was always half empty. And Dad was in food street, worked 14 hours a day for 6 days for his entire life. And we always had like 3 people so work for us. Dad, I don't know if Dad treated them the way I think people would be treated, but I think in terms of the impact on my life, there were a lot of things from my dad that I learned that as a leader, I didn't want to do. But that was a tremendous strength for me as I developed my own leadership, persona, philosophy, etc. But what Dad did have, is an incredible commitment to, I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to have the best food store there is in the Bronx. I'm committed to excellence, and I'm committed to all these things. So when I think about my life, I think about my personality, the fact that I want a light heart, the fact that I do look at everything with the glass half full, and that's from my mom. From my dad, it's a commitment, work ethic, do the best you can be, and it's always about the people you care about. It's always about others with regard to that. And also what not to do in terms of being a leader. And so, as I went forward in my lifetime, they're really truly the strengths that my parents brought to me, and that instilled to me the leadership philosophy I developed a long time ago. My mom and dad were the ones that were the foundation upon which I'm building my leadership philosophy. We'll come back to this in a second. the leadership philosophy is a big piece of what I'm going to talk tonight because of our heritage and everything that has gone on there. But I think to understand it, I'm going to explain it a little bit more, and I'm going to give you a little bit of the background. So, we grew up in Dykeman, me and my family. We grew up in the Dykeman section in New York City. It was a gang area at the time. Yeah, I said there was 5 of us, 5 kids, 7 of us living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. I'm part of the gang from Townhouse 10. 2 guys that I was with all the time in grammar school, which, by the way, I'm telling this story tomorrow as well, got killed in high school. One guy, they had already dropped out of high school. I was a sophomore. One got killed over drug overdose. The other was killed by the police robbing a liquor store. If I had not been with the guy robbing the liquor store, I'm sorry, if I had not been playing high school football, I'm 100% the guy robbing the liquor store. My goal was to play baseball and football in college. And losing these 2 guys is a big wake-up call. Half my class never finished college, never finished high school. And it was a wake-up call to me. No excuses, I gotta be able to figure this out. And I wanna play football and baseball in college, and my girlfriend is pregnant. So I'm now gonna become a father. My father reminds me, it's my responsibility, which I was already accepting, but he reminds me we have no money. So there's no more athletic scholarship. That's not gonna happen. I gotta give up athletics. I gotta take care of my family. So I gotta figure it out. So I wanted going forward. In my freshman year, I'm paying every dime of my education, I'm supporting my wife and supporting my daughter. I'm driving a yellow cab in New York City, driving a truck for the post office at Old Chelsea off 18th Street, and I'm working at my father's food store. And now, this may shock you, but this wasn't the most fun a freshman ever had. And it was also the first time in my life where I didn't have support. So my sophomore year, Fordham Prep, where I'd gone to, gave me a coaching job. So from then on, my sophomore, junior, senior, I majored in economics, wanted to go to Wall Street, coached high school ball during the season, worked for my father in the off season. My senior year, again, I'm planning to go to Wall Street, hoping I can get to Wall Street, but I really loved the coaching. I decided if I could get a head high school job, I'd pursue a career in coaching. If not, I'm going to try to get a job in Wall Street. At 22, I become the youngest head football coach to this day in the history of the state of Delaware, at a place called Larchmere Academy. At the time, it was an all-boys Catholic school in Bronx, Delaware. Coincidentally, it's where our president went, where Joe Biden went, and all of his family. It's the same school. We want to co-ed a little bit later on. So I began there. My goal was to be the head coach of Notre Dame, a major school, and I feel great about my career path. So fast forward a little bit. It's October 1981, and I'm the defensive coordinator at Dartmouth. And by then we have 4 children. And we're in the middle of a staff meeting, and the sheriff from town comes in and needs to see me. I think there's a death in the family. Coach, I'm really sorry. Has me divorce papers. Now, I didn't think necessarily that was the best way to be able to handle the divorce papers, but the reality was the reality. And I couldn't afford to live independently and take care of my family. So I got permission to move into a storage room above the football office. And Dartmouth is in Hanover, New Hampshire. Cold up there. I didn't mind that. That was what I had to do at the time, but it had no heat. So I could see my breath in the wintertime for about 4 or 5 months. And back then, coaches, we didn't make much money back then. And I knew it would be very, very difficult, unless I got that head job at Notre Dame or Michigan or wherever. It'd be very difficult for me to be able to take the next step in my career and support my wife and children, my ex-wife and children, and support myself independently. So I recognized at some point I'm going to have to do something else. In the meantime, I'm still coaching, and I always cared about Wall Street. All right, so as it turns out, 1984, Maryland gives me an opportunity to join their MBA training program. There were 26 of us in the class, 25 MBAs from Harvard, Stanford, et cetera, and 1 football coach. And everybody, the whole firm said, this football guy's never going to make it. I did. And 3 or 4 years later, 5 years later, those MBAs were working for me. I really loved saying it. I really loved it. And that was also, so 1983 was my last season in coaching. So what I thought at the time was the last season ever I'd ever coached, that was my 16th season. So kind of fast forward a little bit, and couldn't be prouder of my career at Merrill Lynch. Now, go back to Archman. When I'm 22 years old, I'm getting the Archman job, and there's gotta be more driving me than just the football, and there was. I don't love football per se. I love so many things about it, but what I love the most is the impact you have on your people. I feel that in the business world as well. And so it meant so much to me as a senior in college that I wanted to coach football. When I was going to Archmere, I said, this is more than just about winning and losing. And in my 1971, first at 22 years old, I wrote it while I was at Fordham that spring. Our philosophy was, we're gonna work on growing up, we're work on being men, not some tough macho guy, but a real man, a real woman, a real leader, stands on their own 2 feet, takes responsibility for themselves, treats others with dignity and respect, and they're gonna live with the consequence of their actions. That was it. That was the philosophy. Then I get an opportunity, 16 years now I'm coaching at every place I ever coached. That was the philosophy. Whether I was the head coach or as an assistant coach, that was the philosophy upon which I ran the areas I'm responsible for. That word never changed. When I wrote it in 1971, I thought, I think this is a good idea, but we'll see. After 16 years, I thought it was a great idea. It didn't change. Now I'm going to Wall Street. Now, I begin as a bond salesman at Merrill Lynch, and that philosophy was for me. Don't shoot, just figure it out, gotta go after it. And by the way, I was a better bond salesman because I was a good football coach. But then I moved into management reasonably quickly, and every job I ever had, that was the standard. Now, I didn't have a name for it at the time, but I said, this is what I expect of all of you. Take responsibility for yourself, always treat others with due respect, but you're gonna live with the consequence of your actions. No bullshit, no games, no excuses. That was my philosophy in executive management my entire time in Merrill Lynch. Then we had the dot-com bubble burst, and we go into a significant recession in March 2000, March 2003. The dot-com firms are going out of business, and Ameritrade is one of those. I wound up taking the Ameritrade job. I leave New York City to go to Omaha, Nebraska, which is where we're headquartered. Guess what my philosophy was for executive management team? Standing on 2 feet, take responsibility for yourself. Treat others with dignity and respect, live with the consequences of your actions. That was it. And by the way, would I repeat that every time we had a meeting? No, but I live by those principles. So I'd say, so there'd be some issue with some of the people. I said, how do you treat that person? Do you think that was respectful? Or do you think, they were treating the person you didn't give a shit? By the way, we're failing. We're not getting high enough customer sentiment grades. Why is that? Oh, well, what do you mean? Whoa. I said, why is that? Who's responsible for that? How are we going to get that fixed? How are we going to be able to do that? So those principles, for any executive, male, female, that I was ultimately responsible for, those were the principles. So that took me through all my entire career coaching the first time, my entire career at Merrill Lynch, my entire career at Ameritrade. Then in 2009, I stepped down. This is after the financial crisis. When Joe was reading the intro, he talked about 500% return. We outperformed every financial firm in the globe. In the globe. Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett, in the globe. This was Ameritrade. It was a little teeny weeny Ameritrade. Well, we did a great job. That includes the financial crisis in 2008. So my numbers include the financial crisis. We didn't do what everybody else did. We realized that there were issues associated with that, and we didn't do that. So I stepped down in 2009, the board asked me to be chairman. I'm chairman, and I'm in demand because we were one of the very, very few companies that got it right. And I stepped down, so I'm in demand all over the place. But I have no issue, I don't want to go someplace else. Then I get a call from a group of alumni at Yale telling me at the end of that there was a possibility the football job would be open, would I be interested? And I remember looking at the phone and saying, guys, I've not coached for 24 years. And they said, well, we know that. But we spent a lot of time looking at the skill sets of college a head coach is supposed to have. And we really believe you've got those. In fact, we think you've got competitive advantages other people just don't have. There's only one problem. What's that? Well, in 140 years of college football, there is nothing like this has ever happened. Okay. Think about it and say, I don't want to go back. At the time in my life where I could have done anything I wanted, I think the most difficult thing I could do because it never happened before. But I didn't think I could do anything with my life that would give me greater satisfaction at that time in my life. I was 59. At the time of my life, than having a major impact on the people I was coaching. Now, that doesn't mean I can't win. I gotta win, I recognize that. And maybe a piece of it was, you know, I had unfinished business for the first time around. So I go back to coach. So I begin in Nebraska and sometime UFL against Jimmy Fossil, Benny Green, and Marty Schottenheimer. Then end of 2011, I get a call from the president of Coast Carolina. Now, I may have heard the term Coast Carolina, but I didn't know where they were. I didn't know anything about Coast Carolina. But the president says to me, you know, we 1AA FCS level, like, you know, we're struggling, but we think we should be competitive on a national basis. We think you can help us with that. And by the way, he's the college president, and he says, it's going to be really difficult for the university president to give you a job because this is not the way academia thinks. I was kind of finding that out because nobody wanted to give me an interview. And he said, but somebody will. Before somebody does, I want you to take over our program. Bang. That's how I wanted to Coast Carolina. Now, we did a couple of things that nobody in the country does. By the way, first, everything we do is a little bit different. The only standard we have is standing on 2 feet. All right, so we did 2 things different from anybody else. One, we gave up 30 minutes of practice a week. We call it life after football. I'm going to repeat that. No team in the country gives up any practice, period, at all. Period. We gave up 30 minutes of practice every week. By the way, 2016, in the entire 145-year history of college football, the only program in the history of college football whose entire team voted for the President of the United States, in the history of college, was Coast Carolina, 2016. That created some noise, controversy. So 2020, there's 25 schools, our guys have voted. The NCAA said, you know, to the colleges, you know, if you got athletes in the fall, you should give them the day off so they can vote. So now we're no longer the only, but we're the first. And by the way, I guarantee you, if we weren't the first, if we weren't the only, I don't think everybody else would bother. So that's an example, we're doing life after football. And nothing to do with football, but everything to do with kind of what's going on. Now, the other piece was, we've got no rules. Now, I didn't have the balls to do this when I began as a head coach at 22 years old. We have plenty of rules. We have no rules. I mean, literally 0 rules. There is no football program in the nation got 0 rules. 0 rules. We have one stand. Standing on 2 feet, take responsibility for yourself, treat others with dignity, respect, and live the consequences of your actions. Now, I'm proud of my career. I'm proud of my personal life. I'm proud of what I've done. I've plenty of things I've screwed up on, but I'm proud of my personal life. I'm proud of my careers playing football at Wall Street. The single competitive advantage I've had is this concept of leadership. Now, I've got 120 guys on the team. I've got another 25, 30 analysts, interns, male coaches. They're all male. So we came up with, now I never called it this, but we call it BAM, be a man. And we had a logo, we got a trademark. By the way, it's on the back of our jerseys, it's in the stadium, it's in the practice field, it's in every coach's office, it's in every player's locker room, BAM. Now, first thing you said, well, that kind of sounds sexist. Well, I've got 150 guys, BAM works. But same thing I said when I was at Archman, when I was 22 years old, I said, it's not about being some tough macho guy. A real man, a real woman, a real leader stands on their own 2 feet, takes responsibility for themselves, treats others with dignity and respect, and they're going to look at the consequences of their action. That's the way I raised my 3 daughters, and that's the standard I held to my entire executive team over Merrill Lynch and all of Ameritrade, whether male or female. It's really it's really a leadership. It's really an acronym for leadership. That's what it really is. And so my daughters, they've got my grandchildren. They'll remind me they're being raised on BAM, and their daughters saying, you know, Sammy, Samantha, you better BAM up. You better step it up. But this became the differentiator, right? So that piece of it was really, without question, the differentiator of everything that we had had. So when you look at BAM itself, it sounds simple, but there is no aspect of one's life, professionally, personally, that doesn't cover. I've been doing this for 50 years. There's no aspect of one's life that it doesn't cover. And it has never not held up. I say it's the single competitive advantage I've had in my life. All right. With that, there are 2 principles that I think is important to understand. One is courage. To define courage, the guts to do what you believe is right. So in our world, there are a lot of people who want to make it excuses, right? Or like there's some reason why, you know, this is not working, that's not working, this is not working, that's not working, and it blames on somebody else. When you think about where we are today, oh, you know what, we're not doing as well as we should because, you know, the Fed is tightening, they shouldn't be doing that. By the way, we don't have the competitive advantage we should in Japan, that's why we're not doing so well. By the way, I'm not doing so well in school or my team because my coach doesn't like me, my teacher doesn't like me, or I'm stressed out because I'm having problems with my girlfriend or my boyfriend. They're all excuses. An excuse subconsciously allows you off the hook. BAM does not allow that. It does not allow that. All right, so courage, guts to do what you believe is right, but there are no excuses with that. So I'm gonna give you a couple examples that I had in the business world and the world of football. How am I doing on time, by the way? I can
You're doing great. We're ready for you more.
Keep going.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, anybody wants to leave, I'll stop for 30 seconds. You get that. Okay, so first example is a business example. So I moved the executive manager reasonably quickly in Merrill Lynch. I ran global fixed income sales, and they wanted to branch me off, give me depth, and broaden my experience. They wanted me to run one of our divisions. So one of those divisions, we had fixed income, we had equities, investment bank, we had municipals. So they asked me to run the municipal division, all messed up. So in the middle of that, by the way, I'm a pretty good business guy, it wasn't like I was an expert in municipals. Everybody in the municipal division knew more about municipals than I did, but I'm pretty good on the other stuff. So I'm looking at things now, in the entire history of Merrill Lynch, the municipal division, in a single day, never lost more than 100 grand. Tired of, first of all, they weren't taking that much risk to do that, obviously. Plus, they're linked with private client, and they can jack up the spreads. So they have all these things kind of going for them, but never lost more than 100 grand. Now I'm coming in, and we're going to change things. We'll do all sorts of things differently, and everything's based on BAM. And so there was a time where Joe and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. The mob spread, this is municipals over treasuries, was as cheap as an arbitrage. So you want to own something and you want to not own the other thing, and you want that spread to be this wide, and you want to come in this way, you make all the money on that spread. So the cheapest it's ever been in its history. So we think about it. Beauty's the guy that didn't want to do this. Okay, we're going to do this. So I go talk to our risk management and all the different things. We have all the different reasons. And I go, how much money? How much you want to put on the trade? I go, 500 million. Now, first of all, remember, I was a sales guy, so didn't quite know what I was doing, but our reasons really made a lot of sense. So we get permission. Okay, from risk management, global risk management, okay, put on 500 million. Trade went against us a little bit, and 2-3 weeks later, they said, you know, the trade's against you a little bit, what do you think you want to do? I think they were hoping I want to get out of the trade. I said, I want to double the trade. Okay, we doubled the trade. So now I've got this trade on that I think is one of the greatest trades in the world. So just look at it as an arbitrage. In an arbitrage, you have something that you own, and you have something that you want to do bad, and you're working on the difference between the two. That's what the arbitrage is. So you got to trade on for a couple of months, and this one day I'm home, and we get a call from our chief financial officer in municipals, and he goes, we got a little bit of a problem. What we own really got crashed, really went down bad, and what we didn't own went up. Now, that's bad because we shorted it. That's bad. So this is bad. This is really bad. And you go, okay, do you know how much we lost? He goes, no, I'll work through the night, I'll figure that out in the morning. I said, okay, so set up a meeting with my boss, who was Dave Tomansky, some of you may know him, the chief executive officer. You know, later that morning, so I want to get my shit together first, and then go and say, okay, how much was the loss? Biggest loss in the history of municipals in Maryland was 100 grand. 16 million. That's not good. That wasn't good. I said, you know, right away, that's not a good thing. I was on top of my stuff. I wasn't just a sales guy. I recognized a loss of $16 million was not a good thing. So then we're kind of going through stuff, and the guy, my financial officer, is telling me, you know what, when you go in today, just explain, you know, this is what happened. These 3 reasons, the municipal market blew up, and you can't do anything about that. There's nothing to do about that. By the way, I want to stop there for a moment. This would have been 1995-6. And I want to go to 2008. How many times have you heard the biggest, most significant financial crisis the world has seen was at us, with regard to us. The world was challenging whether or not the United States financial system had stability enough. Here's what I heard most of the time. You know what? They put on, we know about the toxic mortgages and they were bad. They go like, mortgage market blew up. Whoever knew that was gonna happen? Yeah, how would know that? We didn't know that. We didn't know that. Not one of those CEOs that made $40 million in bonuses got sent to jail, and none of them had to give back a penny. That's total bullshit. It wasn't us. But everybody had the same trial. By the way, we were leveraged 50 to 1 and 100 to 1. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. It was the mortgage market. So I got my chief financial officer telling me, I'm going to tell my boss, he goes, nothing we can do about that. I go, I'm never going to say that. Never say it. So I go in at Dave, he goes, he looks at me, he goes, sit down. He goes, I know this is going to be a fun conversation. He goes, what happened? So I explained to him, here's why we put it on. I got permission to put it on. I got permission to double the trade. And here's what we were hoping for, expecting, not hoping, here's what we expected, and this is what happened. This was the reason why it happened, and this is what we're going to do to correct it. He goes, do you think it makes sense just to take the loss and get out now? If I take my loss and get out now, our loss is going to be triple what it's going to be. He goes, you believe she's supposed to stay in the trade? I said, we want to get out of the trade, but we don't want to force it. By the way, at that point in time, we were like a cork in the ocean. We had no control over the liquidity and all things going on. I learned this as leading a business. I never, ever, ever want to be in a business that I got zero control over. That I'm sitting there hoping the market's going to come my way. That's a shit strategy. And I realized that then because we were hoping. We were like a cork in the ocean. Everything going on. The next day we lost another $10 million. Now we're down $26 million. But the bottom line, we worked out. 3 years later, municipals at Merrill Lynch were the most profitable per capita division Merrill Lynch had before. We're proud kind of to handle it. But that could have easily been an excuse. It probably would have been accepted to use an excuse. Now I want to talk about football. All right, it's 2014-ish. We're in the playoffs. We're number 7 in the country, by the way, from 89. We're number 7 in the country. We're playing Montana, we're number 4th in the country. We're playing in Montana. Now we're 11-1. And we're having a staff meeting, and football 7 days a week. There's kind of no fooling around this. 7 days, so we're talking, and usually you win a game, you get ready for the playoffs, there's enthusiasm in the coaches meeting. And it's not the same. I go, oh, stop, what's going on? And then one of our offensive coordinator stuff, I said, coach, he said, we're all kind of aware of this, and we're playing Montana. It was supposed to be, by the way, it turned out to be the coldest game in history of college football. He said it's going to be -7, and it's going to be constant wind chill. Wind chill is going to be -26. He goes like, last week we practiced in 72-degree weather. We got 15 guys on our team that don't own jackets and have never physically seen snow. And we're going to go to their place and play in -26. Coach, we had a great season, that's going to be tough for us to get around. I go, where's Bam? I'm saying, Dave, I said, you make an excuse. So you're saying, here's the deal. And I'm going after the staff now. I said, so you're saying that, okay, we're going to lose the game because it's -26 degrees and we're from South Carolina and therefore we had a great season, but nothing we could do. It was too cold. We lost the game because it was too cold. I said, that's bullshit. That's an excuse. When you make an excuse, it takes you off the hook. I knew the chances were probably going to lose the game. I said, so what's the problem? The problem's not our offense, defense, first thing. The problem's the cold. So we reached out to research people that have done work on the Arctic. And we said, we got to be able to do A, B, C, D. How are we going to be able to do that? And the way you got to retain heat as best you can, the way you lose heat easiest is through your head. So when a football player comes off the field, first thing he does is take his helmet off. You lose a lot of heat. So we figured this out. We spent an hour every day in the meeting talking about how we're going to retain heat. We practiced that way. We went out there a day early so the guy would have an idea what -26 meant. It was bad. Okay. So bottom line, one example. So we had everybody in one bench. You don't need all the detail. We had everybody on one bench. This starts 13 guys. So you have, and we rented torpedo heaters on each side. They're like little jet engines that are shooting heat. So you can't take your helmet off. You come to the bench. You take your hat off. You put it between your feet. So now your feet and your helmet are getting warm. You have radiant heaters over your head, so your head and your shoulders and your hands are getting warm. And the reality is we don't have to stay out there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. We stay out there about 4 or 5 minutes at a time. So we want to understand that too. Now, football coaches, I'm part of the profession. I am a football coach. I coached for 25 years where I earned my living that way. And coaches are usually reasonably charismatic, they're usually smart, but most of us are blockheads. blockheads. So the way they're teaching their guys is, no matter what the heat is, no matter what the weather is, it's mind over matter. It's not that hot. It's not that hot. It's not that hot. You're fucking kidding me? It's like 98 degrees. It's really, really hot. It's really, really hot. Okay, so now we're talking about the cold, and I'm thinking, I'm not surprised. I don't know their coach so much, but I'm not surprised. Are you kidding me? By the way, headlines. We're the Coast Carolina Shining Bears. They were the Grizzlies. But the headlines in the paper were the Mountain Boys against the Beach Boys. And they're supposed to crush us. There's not a chance. I have no doubt their coach is telling them. Are you kidding me? These guys are coming to our place. They have no idea what the cold is here. But I also shoot their own homework. In December, Montana, the average temperature is 26 degrees. They never played this either. So we're warming up on the sideline again. You can only see like this much of me. And we're you know, it's cold. Here come the guys out in the field. By the way, Montana people are crazy. We're standing room only in this place. It was a giant stadium, I bet you. 60% of the stadium would not have been had anybody in there. And they go, and they come out and wearing short sleeves. I go, all right, you know what? We got a shot here. Got a shot. After 3 minutes of the game, we lose it 14-0. That wasn't a great feel. We scored the next 42 points. We got up 35-14 at halftime. We won and winning the game. I've been at Nebraska when we beat Oklahoma. I've been at Lafayette when we beat Lehigh. I've been at Dartmouth when we beat both Harvard and Yale and Princeton, and I've been at Florida Prep when we beat Xavier. There's never been a game in my life that was more special than what this one was, because no one in the world would believe we would have done that. So again, there are no excuses. So you get back to the courage. Courage is the guts to do what you believe is right. And it's easy to pass on that because people make excuses. I really do think we're in the toughest geopolitical stress situation we've ever been in our country. It scares me, it worries me. And we can only pray and hope that our political leaders and military leaders have the guts to do what they really believe is the right thing to do. Courage, the guts to do what you believe is right. We can only hope that. We really only hope that. And at the end of the day, we are in a litigious society. Everybody sues somebody. Everybody, you know how well some of my teams have done and my business have done because other people are afraid to do anything? It's not like I'm competing against the best people in the world. I'm competing against people that are afraid to do anything. So we go, well, we can't do that. Legal doesn't want to do that. Can't do that. Can't do this. Can't do that. Can't do this. You can hide behind a lot of things. And the world wants to regulate everything. So many of you probably know better than I do. What's the IRS book? 47,000 pages? Are you kidding? Golf's 117 pages. That's a joke. 47,000 pages is a joke. You know what the NCAA manual is? 2,400 pages. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Right? So what it comes down to is, you know what? Deep down, we really know the difference between right and wrong. Don't do what's wrong. Do what you believe is right. Period. That's, to me, the definition of courage. Guts to do what you believe is right. Then the final piece here is love. And love to me is the commitment about well-being of others. And you can see that in a team sometimes. You can see that in an organization. You know, the Columbus Citizens Foundation. You see it in our organization. You see it in other places. You see it in the military. You see it in teams. But I think we see it the most is in a family. I want to share a couple of personal stories. So growing up, I told you about that. So we had a family meeting. We only have one family meeting in our lifetime. And it was Dad telling us Mom had to go in the hospital. It was no big deal. Okay, no big deal. But that night, remember, it's 2 bedrooms. Not like Ponderosa. Not like they have a whole lot of privacy. So my dad, he was kneeling by his bed. He was crying. I thought he was saying prayer, but he was crying. But he goes, that was the message. I'm worried about Mom. I went to bed that night thinking, remember, my mom, the 5 of us were her entire life. And I'm a gang kid. I think I'm a badass. It hit me. I never told my mom that I loved her. And that haunted me. And I remember praying. I'm like 12. And going like, Mom, you know, God, please bring Mom back. Please bring Mom. I'll never make that mistake again. Mom did come back. Didn't make that mistake again. Fast forward. 2001. I just get the Ameritrade job. I moved from New York City to Omaha, Nebraska. I'm there a couple months. And we have September 2001. And all of a sudden I get dressed and I'm watching buildings go down. I have 3 kids that were living in Brooklyn at the time. 2 of them were rookies at Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch was 100 yards from the World Trade Center. I lived 200 yards from the World Trade Center. That's still one of my pleasures today. I get a call from my other daughter, that was working early, said, Dad, I'm sure you got a lot of things going on, because I just want you to know that, you know, I talked to both Kara and Kevin, and they're both okay. Thank you, Kevin. You know, please keep me in the loop. She called me a couple hours later. Dad, I just spoke to Kara, she's in Jersey City, and she's stressed out, but she's okay. The last time anybody saw Kevin, he was going over the site to see if he could help out. Dad had heard from Kevin. No kidding on that. Now, both buildings are already collapsed. He works 100 yards from me, went over to see the guy. I spent the rest of the afternoon pretty confident there was a good chance I lost my son. And not a great experience, but I had a little bit, it was almost eerie, a little bit sense of peace, and that is, I'm anticipating I lost my son. But there was not one thing in the world I would have wanted to tell my son that I hadn't already told him. Take responsibility for yourself. This is your family. You gotta tell them how you feel. You gotta do what you can to give them the best guidance you possibly can. Not necessarily tell them what to do, give them the best guidance you possibly can. And if I lost my son that day, it would have been horrible. But there was a sense of peace about me. The reason why I had that sense of peace is because the experience I had with my mother when I was 12. So, if you think about it now as a leader, think about it as a leader, if your people, remember, I define love as the commitment to well-being others, believe you have their best interests at heart, they'll follow you anywhere. They'll do anything you possibly can for you. And I really believe history has been shaped and defined by those people that stand on their own 2 feet, take responsibility for themselves, treat others with dignity and respect, and live with the consequences of their actions. And they have the guts to do what they believe is right, and they recognize they're committed to the well-being of the people that they serve. I really believe that's what leadership truly is all about. So when I think in terms of being here today, tonight, and again, if I went over, I apologize, but I would have been far more disciplined in terms of what I was going to say if this was a bigger group, but this is too intimate a group for me not to kind of share how I'm feeling. And again, I'm happy to stay here, answer whatever questions you have. If Romeo's going to get mad at us, tell Romeo to relax a little bit. And, but at the end of the day, Joe, thank you for asking me to be here, but just my coming back here. I spoke here about 7 or 8 years ago here, and 2006, at the World Story, there was 1,000 people with black tie dinner. Some of you were there, and I was honored by receiving our leadership award, Columbus Citizens Foundation Leadership Award. I had my whole family. There was 1,000 people. There was a black tie event. What memories that my family's always going to have, because that memories I'm always going to have because of it. And what a great special honor. Well, that was here. That was you guys and your predecessors. And then I think here, I said, this is New York City. This is my home. I grew up here. Our Lady Queen of Martyrs is in Inwood, right above home. Porter Prep is in the Bronx. Porter University is in the Bronx. I began my coach career in the Bronx. I began my Wall Street career in the financial district. I got an apartment in Battery Park City that I got in the mid-'80s that I still have. I've got so many, most of my loved ones and really close friends are here. I've got so many media and business relationships that really do matter to me. And I think about that, I think how fortunate I am. I get a chance to come back here. And then there's one other thing, and that is, my mom and dad never had a chance to hear me speak. And I've been speaking for a long time. Never had a chance to hear me speak. They heard me speak. So, wrapping up. Questo è stato un grande onore per me e ti ringrazio. But then again, you guys told me that you don't speak English, so you don't speak Italian, so it's really been a great honor for me. Grazie tanto. Thank you.